Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the latest on efforts by Arizona and other western states to share and preserve dwindling supplies of Colorado River water. Also tonight, State Senate Minority Leader Priya Sundaresan reacts to Republican calls for Attorney General Kris Mayes to step down. And we'll try to learn why consumer confidence in the U.S. is at a 10-year low. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A recent meeting of Western governors on how to share declining Colorado River water produced no agreements, though Governor Hobbs said that progress was made. This as federal officials want at the very least a consensus for a water plan by February 14th. Joining us now is Tom Bushotsky, Director of the State Department of Water Resources and the point guy for all of these negotiations. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us because, I got a lot to ask you here. This recent meeting with the governors, the governor kind of said there's maybe a path forward. Path forward is nice. What does that mean, and what does it mean as far as details are concerned?
So I think we saw in that meeting a willingness by the other governors, especially the governors of the four states, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah, to move forward and to get involved in more serious negotiations and to put something on the table that is meaningful and something on the table that kind of matches or is equitable in relation to what Arizona, California, and Nevada have already put on the table.
Sharing Colorado River water, as I mentioned, there has to be at least, feds want to see at least a consensus by February 14th. Got to get something a little more concrete here by midsummer sometime. Either one of those things going to happen?
So by July, early July, mid-July, there has to be a decision made because then the operations of the river and the dams has to kick in on October 1 of 2026. That's going to happen one way or the other. If there's no deal, the feds are going to impose something upon all of us. As far as the February 14th deadline goes, I'm still hopeful that we can find some path forward. I don't know that we have to have every document lawyered up and dotted I's and crossed T's. If we have something in concept, my guess is we'll have more time to flesh that out.
Give us a general view here of what the conflict is, the difference between upper and lower basin states, and why it seems, at least from a distance, all of a sudden the upper basin states are really playing hardball here.
So in the lower basin states, we've put a significant volume of water on the table to reduce our use. It is really the only tool we have in terms of managing our demand. That volume equates to 27% of Arizona's Colorado River water. In the four upper basin states, they have put no certain reductions of use on the table. They've talked about voluntary, but in those four states collectively, that's in the 3 to maybe 5% of their demand as a reduction. And you compare that to 27% in Arizona. I'm not sure that that's equitable. That's been one of the sticking points.
Yeah, I was going to say, have the upper basin states, I realize the conflict has already been there, the disagreements have always been there, but for the upper basin states to basically say, we're good, you guys handle it, did that surprise you?
It did not surprise me at all. The last time we put together an operational plan was in 2019. We did the heavy lifting there then. The upper basin, again, agreed to do some voluntary things. 1 year, 2023, some action had to be taken. They moved some water out of some reservoirs above Lake Powell into Lake Powell because of dry hydrology.
So you mentioned 27%, and give or take a few here, about a third for Arizona getting hit here. Is that an option that Arizona can live with as far as negotiations are concerned if the upper basin states do something more than nothing?
So it is an option because Nevada and California are also kicking in, and we expect Mexico to kick in. So we're doing the heavy lifting, and there's a lot of political and legal reasons why that would be appropriate. But we need a lot more action in the upper basin. The other issue of contention is these reservoirs above Lake Powell have substantial volumes of water in them. We expect that water to be moved into Lake Powell under some set of conditions. And our friends in those four upper basin states claim that that water is for their use, not to move into Lake Powell and eventually into Lake Mead under the law of the river. One of those laws is a 1956 act that authorized the building of those reservoirs, and it expressly says that water is there in those reservoirs to meet their obligation to us in the lower basin.
So again, in 1956, an obligation to us was recognized.
Correct.
All right, let's go back to 1922 and the compact back then, which it sounds like it favors Arizona in the sense that you could use this compact as a nuclear option. And the 1956 deal, which they say we do have an obligation, you can say in 1922, yeah, you do have an obligation.
So it is one of our strongest pieces of information or action items that we have is the compact and our ability to potentially enforce that compact and its obligations, which is essentially 82.5 million acre feet of deliveries from Lake Powell to Lake Mead on a 10-year rolling average. So the downside of that is we have to go to court, likely the United States Supreme Court. There are risks to going to court. We believe we have a very strong case, but anyone that tells me that you're going to win 100% in any courtroom, I have a skepticism built into statements like that.
But just to clarify now, again, in 1922, the upper basin states, there was an obligation to the lower basin states. In 1956, they recognized that obligation for their own reservoirs. Now, what are they saying now? They have no obligation?
They are kind of saying that, and we don't have enough time to go through the nuances of that.
Sure.
But yes, they are saying that their obligation isn't what we ever thought it was. And they're saying that basically Mother Nature or climate change has reduced the flow of the river, so their obligation to us would not be abrogated by them, but by Mother Nature. That's one of their arguments.
So what does this mean for Arizona if, let's say, that does go to court? Let's say, I mean, it sounds like the House, the Arizona House just passed a $1 million litigation fund here. So the money is, people are expecting some sort of court action. If the court action does not go Arizona's way, what does that mean for us?
So we still prefer a collaborative outcome, and we still prefer to not be in a courtroom because of the risks I described earlier. If we lose, it depends on the issues we lose on and how much we lose. So we don't want to be there, and I couldn't speculate on how much water we might lose beyond the 27%. It could be a lot more than that. I don't think it would be a situation where we could win enough in court to avoid the 27%.
What does that mean for residents?
So for most of our municipal water providers, the 27%, and this is all coming out of the Central Arizona Project at this point, essentially. Most of them can deal with that. We have the Arizona Water Banking Authority with water stored underground, and we can supply that water to those people. So they're not going to see draconian measures. We're not going to ask them to not take showers and the like. You might see some upgraded restrictions on watering lawns and things like that. But there are some places, and Cave Creek has told us and said publicly that some of their indoor water use taps in their homes could be at risk with that big of a cut. We're trying to figure out a way to help mitigate the impacts on that particular town, but they're not alone.
Right, right. So to keep that from happening, is there a way to, I know the idea is to make a 20-year compact and get this kind of thing done. Is there a way to phase things in, to go 3, 5 years at a time? It sounds terrible for you because you got to keep arguing and fussing and fighting, but is that an avenue? So
the current deal and agreements all run out in a 20-year time frame. Maybe 20 years we can do again, but a phased-in first 5 years and second 15 years might set aside some of the issues between us in the upper and lower basin. It also gives you more opportunity to adjust because I can't predict the future. We haven't been good at predicting what the river's going to produce in subsequent years. So there's a lot of reasons why a shorter-term deal could avoid that courtroom outcome.
Last question real quickly here. Just in general, overall, are you optimistic?
So I am optimistic that at the end of the day, Arizona is going to be protected. whether that is through negotiation with all of the states, with negotiation with California, Nevada, and Mexico, or whether in a courtroom. I am optimistic at the end of the day we will come out in a pretty good place. We will have the resources we need for our people, for our economy, for our industry, and for the lifestyle that people in this state came here to enjoy.
Tom Bushatsky, Arizona Department of Water Resources. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the campus of Arizona State University, this is KAET Phoenix, Channel 8, your public television station.
You're watching Arizona PBS.
You're watching Arizona PBS, and your Arizona connection starts right here.
A lot of the plants that are still here, especially like the cacti, the saguaro is one that is really prominent to the people, to the O'odham community. We have a lot of respect for the saguaro itself, or the hashan as we call it. It also provides us with the fruit, and it also provides us with materials for our houses, our ramadas or vatos. In the summertime when the fruit is ready to be harvested, it's what we call our new year. And it's to reflect on everything in the past year, but also to look forward into the coming year to what's coming up. And at this time, they would do certain ceremonies, whether in different communities or just within families. They would sing traditional songs to bring the rain. Because you live in the desert, we need the water, again, to survive.
Republican lawmakers are formally calling for Attorney General Kris Mayes to resign due to remarks regarding the state's stand your ground laws that critics say put ICE officers in danger. The Republican-led House today moved to censure the Attorney General after the GOP-led Senate last week passed a resolution calling for the AG's resignation. We heard from Republicans earlier this week. Tonight, for the Democratic perspective, we welcome Senate Minority Leader Priya Sundaresan. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
All right, let's talk about the Senate, obviously, where you're from. Resolution was last week. Wants the AG to retract, to clarify, and then resign. Your thoughts?
I think that they were confidently wrong about this issue. Senate Democrats stand with Attorney General Kris Mayes. And, I think what they did was they twisted her words. They are, trying to claim that she put ICE agents in danger, when what Attorney General Kris Mayes was actually doing was pointing out that there is a dangerous situation. Should those federal agents come to Arizona, there are stand your ground laws on the books. She wanted to make it clear that there could be danger, and she wanted to make sure that folks knew that that could happen.
But did she make it clear? Because Republicans are saying that she misstated the law, she misled people, it was dangerous and misleading, and they're saying she did anything but clarify.
I think, unfortunately, this is a case of politics. Republicans purposely were twisting her words in order to make it sound like it was a confusing and therefore dangerous situation, that she was putting people in more danger. But I think it's also important to point out Senate President Warren Peterson is running himself for Attorney General. So I think there's a little element of trying to revive his campaign through this.
But when Republicans say that she confused sections of the Stand Your Ground law with the Castle Doctrine and the idea that if they're poorly identified as opposed to not identified, the ICE agents, and they're coming at you, et cetera, could that be, even the governor said, tone this down a little bit?
They can say that. The Senate Republicans can say that. The governor can say that. I think that from the Senate Democrats' perspective, we stand with Attorney General Kris Mayes, who really has been pointing out the overreach that federal agents have been engaging in. Especially, we've seen that in Minnesota, where people are dying due to the aggressive enforcement tactics these federal agents are taking. And by the way, when they are masked, when we've seen, as we've seen, they do not identify themselves as law enforcement, that does create a very dangerous situation.
Just so you know, we had a Republican lawmaker in studio this week saying both of those shootings in Minnesota were justifiable as far as the ICE agents were concerned. And they're saying that Democrats, by voting against this resolution en masse, you chose loyalty over public safety. How do you respond to that?
Absolutely not. No, I think we are standing for public safety by standing with Attorney General Chris Mays, who is the top law enforcement official in the state. She takes that responsibility very seriously. I think it is unconscionable, honestly, for Senate Republicans to be spinning what occurred in Minnesota as justified killings when we have all seen the footage. One is a woman in her car after dropping off her kids at school. The other was a nurse who was already disarmed before he was murdered. These are not instances where it was justified at all.
Well, and as we mentioned, the House today censured, and the Senate previously had called for the resignation. I want to get your response to that because we had a spirited conversation with a Republican lawmaker earlier in the week who basically said that she is dangerously misleading people.
Unfortunately, I think what Republicans are doing here is spinning those words out of context, and they're the ones misleading the public.
Something that happened in the Senate Finance Committee today advanced legislation regarding putting Arizona in line with the federal government regarding taxes. Tax conformity is a shorthanded way of saying this. The governor vetoed the first attempt. This is the second attempt. What do you make of all this?
So I was here a couple of weeks ago talking about their first attempt at tax conformity. This second attempt is very similar to the first. In fact, though, it actually continues and includes even more tax cuts for the wealthy in this attempt. And unfortunately, that's not what the Arizona voters need right now. We have an affordability crisis. We have cost of living on the rise. We need to be putting forward a tax proposal that both provides certainty, but also is not, benefiting the wealthiest and the corporations.
But the Department of Revenue is basically saying, go ahead and file, don't worry too much about this, and yet there is not conformity there, and so there is confusion. There needs to be clarification. They're saying that a lot of this confusion is coming from the executive office, and a lot of this confusion is frankly coming from Democrats.
I disagree, you might expect. The governor and the Department of Revenue are actually saying, go ahead and file your taxes. The tax forms incorporate the vast majority of the federal tax cuts that were already passed. We can deal with conformity at the state level, and no matter what we decide, the vast majority of tax filers will not see any change. Any amended returns might see a small change that will only be due, the amendment might only be due in 2027. So really it is an issue of certainty has been created, those forms exist, go ahead and file your taxes. The vast majority of us will take that standard deduction.
But it sounds like there might be as many as 1 million returns at play here, and the reprocessing would be like $20 million, something along those lines. That's significant.
It's hard to know how many of those amended returns might be, but I think in the interest of certainty, I would hope that Republicans can put forward a tax conformity package that actually works with Democrats. We've put forward a middle-class tax cut package that the governor supports that limits those tax cuts to those that help the middle class, not the ones that will help the wealthiest. And so that package is out there. Republicans could take it up, and we could end this right now.
So when Republicans emphasize that what they are sending up, what advanced today in the committee, matches the federal form, the Department of Revenue forms, the tax forms that are out there, they're saying it matches. There would be no need. You're saying that's nice, but it's still not the tax cuts that we want to see.
That's nice. It's not the tax cuts we want to see, and our package matches those forms almost entirely as well. And any amendments that would have to come in would be later on, and I think would be easily smoothed over.
Last question on this particular thing here. Where do we go from here? What's next?
I hope the Republicans will talk to us because we have put forward a tax cut package that the governor is ready and willing to sign.
Before you go, do I understand that the primary date has been changed?
Yes, so that's the big news. That's all we did today in the Senate. We voted on a near unanimous basis a quick and simple elections fix that moves the primary date up 2 weeks. I think it's also important to recognize that this shows that we can work together on a bipartisan basis to fix any elections issues that we have, especially at a time when we're hearing from the federal government that there might be a desire to reach in and nationalize elections. There's no need. We have our elections well in hand at the state.
And why was it important to move this up?
There is an issue, a question of whether with recounts potentially needing to occur, if those margins are tight, we need additional time. We need to move the primary up to ensure that those recounts can occur in time to get ballots out to overseas voters.
And all sides said, sounds good to me.
It sounds fine.
All right. Senator Priya Sundaresan, again, Senate Minority Leader. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
At PBS, we know that even though kids might be out of school, their education is still a top priority. PBS Learning Media is a free platform that helps educators deliver and families access distance learning. With PBS resources that are aligned to standards and created by the country's top educators, it helps keep students engaged in learning. So wherever education takes place, PBS Learning Media is here to help.
U.S. consumer confidence declined sharply in January, dropping to its lowest level since 2014, with consumers' perceptions of the labor market and high prices among the major factors for the decline in confidence. Economist Dale Rogers is from ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business, and he joins us now. Dale, always a pleasure. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. What's going on out here? Why are consumers so pessimistic about the economy?
Well, it's what you said, but I think it's also the incredibly fast rate of change we've seen in the last year. So prices haven't gone down. We continue to see prices go up, no matter what anybody says about it. We saw them go up during the Biden administration. They tried to say, no, everything's fine. And certainly during this new administration, that's happened. But I think it's also, and if you look at the strength of our economy, going back 20 years, it's really 25 years, it's really been the consumers. You know, when we were in the first Trump administration and then Biden, some of the upstream parts of the supply chain were kind of weak, but downstream at the consumer, they felt good about things. And it's really interesting. I think it's partly that folks are sort of feeling whiplash from the dramatic amount of change they're seeing. And they're really uncertain. So it's not just prices are higher, but man, what's going on in the U.S. And I just got to tell you a quick story. When you guys asked me last week to come down and do this, I've got a brand new graduate class at WP Carey at ASU, and I said, hey, you want to help me with my homework? You want to? And most of the students, almost all of them, are international, and I could think of stuff to tell you on my own, but I kind of wanted to see if they were any good. And I got some perspectives that I didn't think about myself. And one of them was a couple of students from a different country, most of them are international, and they said, you know, Dr. Rogers, that one of the reasons we came to the U.S. is that we thought that the government told the truth and that there were rules and stuff was stable. Because where we come from back home, you can't believe anything the government says. You just don't believe it. And I'm not just saying it's the administration. I think it's confusing all the sides that are talking. And I hadn't thought of that as being something that would undermine consumer confidence, but I think it has.
Well, we've talked about tariffs undermining business confidence and corporation
Right, that's
confidence.
right.
And so you're saying the same thing could be happening as far as consumers are concerned.
Yeah, so some of it's inflation. We can't say it's all in inflation. It's just what are the rules even, just regular. What we saw in Minneapolis a week or two ago, 2 weeks ago, is startling. And so consumers, which have been the unmovable rock of the U.S. economy, aren't clear on where we are.
Well, let's try to clear this up then. The relationship between consumer confidence and consumer spending. Is there a relationship there? Is there a hard line where you can
Yes.
watch it?
Yes, and particularly on the lower end of the economy, those people are seeing their budgets stretched incredibly thin. I mean, you know, you can't blame all this on the current administration. Real estate prices, just living. I mean, it's so hard right now. So absolutely.
But it also, consumer confidence fell in higher income households as well.
It did.
And that would suggest, I mean, it seems like higher income spending has kind of underpinned the economy for quite a while here. Is that true?
Well, it was broad. It really broad across the economy. But, you know, of course, you get more money out of the higher end.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But no, I think we've seen people feel comfortable with spending money, even if they couldn't really afford to, up until just the last few months.
As far as those, the K-shaped spending with these upper income folks, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. So the idea of the K-shaped is that it's going up on the high end, like we were just talking about.
Right.
And then it's going down on the low end.
I see.
So you get on an airplane and the seats in the back aren't as full as they used to be. Now the airlines are really good at yield management these days, but all the seats in the front are totally full. So it's high end spending is still in much better shape than the low end. And we're seeing a lot of companies suffer. I mean, Walmart had a record quarter, but they're adjusting the number of employees and changing some things because they're seeing some stuff hit them on the lower end.
Lowest level since 2014. Dale Rogers, ASU W.P. Carey School of Business. You're a go-to guy for supply chain issues and this issue as well. Good to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here.
You bet. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from